Assalamu alaikum viewers. I'm glad to be joined today by Hajjat Afwa Sebyala, a sister from Kampala, Uganda. She is known in her community as a leader, a mentor, and a business lady. And I'm glad to have her today on Islam Channel. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I've noticed from the conference, you're the darling of the conference. A lot of people, like you said, have been looking up to you. And from an all-male conference, you're pretty much the only Muslim woman that is represented there.
Yeah, I thank Allah for that. I also thank Uganda as a country, because in Uganda, a woman, the dividing line between a woman and a man is very, very thin. The gender line is very thin. So all of us, man or woman, we are capable. So you cannot find a delegation from Uganda to any fora, be it UN, be it Islamic, be it any other fora. There has to be a lady. So I thank Uganda as a country. I thank Allah for giving me the ability to be able to do that. And I thank the audience this afternoon. I think it was a lively one.
So what made the British Council pick you as an ambassador and a representative of Uganda for this climate change faith forum? Not just this one in Ethiopia, but the one in Abuja as well.
Yeah, for British Council, as I told you, I'm a mentor. And I try to stand out in whatever I do. To whatever I do, I add value. So I was trained in the UK. I'm an insurance profession. When I went back to Uganda, we have what is called Uganda British Alumni Association. It brings together Ugandans who have studied in the UK and Britons who have studied in Uganda. And I had an opportunity of being its chairperson. And whilst I was the chair, I performed very well, and British Council was impressed by my performance. So when this opportunity came, Interfaith Forum on Climate Change, they thought I was one of the best people to come, and I think they didn't make a mistake.
Well, I can definitely see from the rapturous response that you had at the conference in Ethiopia that I'm sure they didn't make a mistake. Coming on to the conference later on, but what role do you think that women have to play in raising the issue of climate change and faith?
Yeah, it is a very, very big role. Because first of all, we are the leaders. We are the mothers. We had this afternoon, didn't you? We had that the children. We need to bring up our children. We need to start from an early age, telling them about climate change. And in Africa, it is the woman. These kids are brought about, by the woman. So we have a very, very big role to play in as far as climate change is concerned. First of all, telling the young children, and then we do most of the work in Africa. If you have noticed, the woman does most of the work.
Well, actually, my colleague was saying that he said that he noticed all the men were sitting on the street and the women were busy around doing the work. So yes. I've noticed that today in Ethiopia. Exactly. Hopefully not to stereotype Ethiopians, but it was apparent.
Yes, exactly. So since we are on the ground, we have a bigger role to play. And if we had more ladies in here, I'm sure this forum would have been even more vibrant. You have one lady who is speaking, and you see everybody's excited about it. Supposing we had more ladies than more men in this forum.
In terms of what made you as a Muslim think that climate is an important role and something, it's an important issue and something that needs to be addressed. How do you reconcile Islam with climate change?
Islam is a complete way of life. The Quran has verses which talk about environment. And these are really, when the Quran has these verses, these are cast in stone. These are cast in stone. So if it's in the Quran, that means that we have to follow what is written in there. The problem is some of us do not understand Arabic. But if it is interpreted for you, and this is what the Quran says, and this is actually what we are doing, to make sure that we simplify. We bring out the issues. What does the Quran say? What does the Islamic teaching say about climate change? What haven't we done to bring about these problems, and what can we do? Since it is a religious teaching, we have to follow that to the letter. That is why now I'm so proud that I'm part of this, and I'm following my religion, I'm serving my God, and I'm serving the environment.
Would you call yourself a faith leader?
I will not call myself a faith leader, but I relate very well with faith leaders. I have got the capacity to link all the faith leaders with the community, and I think that is the best person to get. If you get a person who can link faith leaders with the community, with high class, with British Council, with the government, then that's the best person. You may find that some faith leaders have limitations. They may not go to government, they may not go to the masses, but like a person like me, who is a mentor, who knows how to deal with people of all caliber, then it's the best person. So I'm not a faith leader, but I can link faith leaders with the rest of the community.
The British Council commissioned a report with the BBC World Trust, and in that report it was highlighted, which covered 10 countries, that climate change threatens to greatly increase poverty, disease and conflict in Africa. How much of that worries you as a Ugandan or as an African?
Well, as an African it worries me, but it worries me more as a Ugandan. Actually, when I read the Ugandan reports, it was spot on. It talked of landslides. We had landslides about 3 months ago. And what happens is that people die. But apart from losing life, people, they have to migrate. And the other land is occupied. Yeah? So you have people moving from one area to another. So that means that you're bringing about conflict. But then there's no solution. This landslide, you have to protect them. Their farms are all, taken away by the landslide. But then you have to move them. It's a worrying, and it has to be politically handled and sensitively handled.
You said it needs to be politically handled. However, in the same report by the BBC World Trust, it says that faith leaders have a crucial role to play in pressing for changes in behaviour at every level of society. So it seems that the reporters highlighted faith leaders as mobilising the masses to do something about climate change. Have the political elite failed?
No.
Not just in Uganda, but everywhere.
So once you belong to a certain political party, then there are favors. But once you're a Muslim, you're a Muslim. That's it. Whatever benefits accrue to Muslims accrue to you as an individual. So it is, but then the problem is that faith leaders do not have resources. They don't have land. Political leaders do have land. So the two have to work together to make sure that these masses are mobilized, and then the land is allocated in case there's a landslide or there are floods or there are problems.
Do you think there's a conflict of interest for the political elite in Africa? Do they have some vested interests?
Yes, certainly. They have political interests. I'm not a politician myself, but you see, when you're trying to move a certain group, people will say, these are my voters. They must be in a particular location. These are for my party. They must be in a particular location. That's a conflict of interest. Whereas faith leaders look at people as individuals. They don't have to say this is...
Well, is there a conflict of interest between different faiths? I mean, the Christians, the Muslims, the different faiths represented at this conference? Or do you think that the faith leaders are all together on this climate change?
If there is a difference, it must be very minimal. It's not noticeable at all. Because in Uganda, all religions are represented, and we are working very well. With the bishop, with the Hajjat, with the imam, we sit on the same table, we discuss same issues. If I have an activity, bishop comes. If he has an activity, he invites me as Hajjat. I go, talk to the leaders, the church people. So we work, in Uganda, we work in harmony. We don't have that problem.
Okay. In terms of reconciling a major issue, how does one reconcile the people that are very poor with the issue of climate change? For example, a person who chops down a piece of wood and he has to use that wood to go and feed his family, or sell out the market. How do you reconcile that with telling them, please don't do that, because you're destroying sustainable forests?
Yeah, that's actually the biggest challenge. And I think
how do we get over that?
But that challenge can only be addressed by a forum like this one. Because you see, like, what we have, the theme that we have, say, that we have been moving forward from Abuja is speaking out, improving understanding, and inspiring positive action. The thing is, when you tell somebody don't cut a tree, he must know why he's not cutting a tree. And if he has to cut a tree, you start pruning the branches, you guide them how to do it, and you tell them why it shouldn't be done. But if you just come and say don't cut a tree, then that's a problem. But you see, if you speak out, and people do appreciate, and when you bring the religious line, the religious angle, what the religion says about not cutting these trees, then the message is even stronger.
One of the British Council members was telling me of an interesting story. A coastal village in Africa were using dynamite techniques to fish. So they'll throw dynamite down and blow up the fish, and the fish will automatically come up to the surface, damaging the coral reef. And this would damage the coral. They would get their fish. However, no one could actually stop them from damaging the coral. However, once an imam got involved, he told me it was sinful to do that. It's literally stopped overnight. Do you have any kind of inspirational stories on the ground from Uganda?
Yeah, there are actually very many inspiration stories that we have. Once you relate this to religion, because people respect religion. Once you say, when you go to Mecca, you cannot even, in Mecca, you can't even take out a leaf from a tree. It is forbidden. Now, when you tell somebody that and relate that back to your country, then they do appreciate and respect those trees. And they can look for alternative ways of cooking or energy. And it's working well in Uganda. We just need to reinforce it.
You were at the first conference organized by the British Council in Abuja in Nigeria. You signed the Declaration on Climate Change yourself. Can you tell me of any practical steps that you've personally implemented in Uganda since the last time that we met?
The declaration that we signed had 7 points. And these we are taking them as our Quran and our Bible in Uganda. We are looking at these points, point by point, all the 7 points. And we make sure that all the time we evaluate, what have we done? Capacity building, what have we done? So we have done all the 7 points, we have touched them. Capacity building, we have attended conferences outside these. I've been to Nairobi, attended Green Economy, and it was so informative. So going back to Uganda, I would inform my people about that. And then after that, there's a lot that we have been able to do on the ground. The issue that I talked about this afternoon of Greening Fridays, that's a living example.
What is Greening Fridays?
Greening Fridays is you have a sermon in particular mosques, which on a Friday is dedicated to environment. At the end of that sermon, there's tree planting ceremonial and giving out of seedlings. So greening was a passionate way of bringing this into Greening Friday. So Friday people come for prayers, listening to the sermon. It's talking about the environment. What does the Quran say? What have you done? What haven't you done? What can you do now? Because it's not late. So if it's what the Quran says, you have to do it. That's a Greening Friday. And it's something that is so popular. Very, very popular. The calls that we receive day in, day out. Each mosque says, please, can we have this? Can we have next Friday coming this way? So that's a Greening Friday. But we have also participated in tree planting, actual tree planting. We have planted 300 trees as model in a particular mosque in a village where I come from. 300 fruit trees. And when people come for prayers, We tell them about those trees. Why are they planted? Why was that area bare? Why is it now? Why does it have these orange trees? Why does it have these mango trees? You know, and so people now are becoming aware, and they're also asking, can we have the seedlings to have by our, courtyards, by our farms, and it's working out well.
At the conference here in Ethiopia, the British Council took you to a bio farm nearby. How did you find that experience, and what did you learn from that?
As a Ugandan, Uganda is so endowed. Really, whatever we saw there, a big part of it, actually, we have it in Uganda. But I was so impressed by the passion of the professor, the love that he has, the expertise. You would see him talking with a lot of love and passion. So it would make you love whatever we saw there. It was a refreshing exercise. And I think I noted down very, very good points from whatever the professor was saying. I'll share them with the people back home when I
Are you going to implement some of those points in Uganda?
I look through them and see how to fit them in my program. I cannot say right away now. But when I go back, I'll look at and see how to fit them in. Because I already have a program. I need to see if I can fit them in. If not, maybe in the future.
The resolution for the climate change issue is a many decades problem. However, the British Council, as they've said many times, they are only catalysts. What happens when the British Council go home? How do you carry on your project?
They're catalysts, but the catalyst should not be there forever. And the old adage of where there is a will, there is a way, it holds. It holds. For instance, for the Greening Friday that we launched in Uganda, the contribution that we got from other institutions that related with that idea, because the idea was brilliant, it was attractive. Everybody wanted to relate with that idea. So if you have a very good plan and a good idea, people will relate. British Council helped us to start it off. But then we should find a way of moving ahead with the plans. And I'm so optimistic. Even here, I already have offers from people who listen to me. They say we can talk over lunch and see how to move these ideas forward. So if you have a good plan, I'm sure sky will be the limit.
You found this conference, as well as the previous conference, a good networking base?
Yeah, I'm a networker. That is part of my profession.